Welcome to the Talent Show, people. How y'all doing? It's been too long. It's been far too long. It'll be far too long after this because I'm pleased to announce that this will be the last episode of season two, as I'm sure you all guys are all aware. But I'm very appreciative of it. It's been a long journey. It's been a long 7, 8 months, and I'm very appreciative to be at this point in my life with the show. So I appreciate the gratitude and love you guys send me every single day. It means a lot. As a 17-year-old trying to live out his dreams, it means a lot. So I appreciate you guys for everything. With my pleasure, I would like to introduce the guest for the last episode of season two. Everyone, please welcome to the show, Mr. Pat Bradley. Woo!
Thank you, my man. That's the best introduction I've had in a long time. It's
great.
an honor. Thank you for asking me to come on. Thanks for thinking of me. Dale, I'm excited, man.
I'm excited to have you, man. It's been a little over a month since I've recorded. Just had so much personal life going on and trying to figure out a last guest for this. And it was really important that I kind of ended with someone that meant a lot to me, and it has a lot of stories to share with other people. And so it means a lot to me. And so I appreciate you for doing this. First, I want to start. How are you doing, man? How's life treating you? I know.
Good. Unfortunately, I'm in a hotel room right now because if I was back home, I'd be able to show you all my Razorback memorabilia that I have. But I'm here on the road in Charlotte at the SEC studios. Mm-hmm. We've got SEC basketball games tonight. So in a couple hours, actually probably even less than that, I'll head over to the studio. We'll go over what we need to do. But right now, for me, this is the busy time. This is the fun time. College basketball is here. We're in full swing. I know right now the Razorbacks are trying to find themselves, trying to find their identity. But it's just good to have basketball back in the full swing of things.
I'm going to get into that really quickly, but I also, Pat, let the listeners know if they don't know who you are, or if they do know who you are, don't know much about you, give them a little brief overview of who you are, where you're from, and just a lot of things you've been able to accomplish to help you get where you are today, man.
Well, I grew up in Everett, Massachusetts. It's about a mile from Boston, really a mile from. About a little mile from the Boston Garden. So growing up there, went to high school, Everett High School, and it was AU tournament. Got recruited to play at Arkansas. My freshman year was 95. I graduated high school in 95. Coach Nolan Richardson just saw me at the tournament. And fortunately, he had enough scholarships. He could take a chance on me. So I went to Fayetteville. Played 4 years there, and it was a life-changing experience because Arkansas is a similar place to where I grew up. Mm-hmm. Although Boston is thought of as a city, it's really it's made up of almost neighborhoods. And I'm from a smaller city right outside, so I saw a lot of similarities there. Now, of course, the accents are different. The food is different. Mm-hmm. But I was able to figure out quick, love the food. I can fake the accent. So it worked perfect. And so played 4 years at the University of Arkansas. Then I played a couple of years overseas, mm-hmm. and came back and actually started coaching in Little Rock, the D League. Now it's the G League, the NBA G League, but it was called the NBA D League, Developmental League, when it first began. Matter of fact, Mr. Dontel Jefferson, who he played against us in the D League when he played in the D League, and we tried to trade for him, but they wanted too much, man. You know what I'm saying? I was like, Dontel, you got to give us a deal. We want to bring you back to Arkansas. So from there, I always felt like I wanted to be in basketball some way, shape, or form. My body broke down. I couldn't play in the NBA. And so coaching Coaching is tough, man. 24/7. There is no off day because you always are available for your players. Always. Whether it's great high school coaches, AAU coaches, those guys are always available. There is no off season. And I was fortunate enough to start working with a Little Rock radio station, The Buzz, sports talk radio, which for me was a dream job. Which then I got some opportunities to work in television, calling college basketball games. So fortunately for me, Dalen, I haven't had to work a real job because I wouldn't have survived. But what's really helped me has been people opening doors, listening. When somebody tells me, you got to be coachable. You got to be coachable in life, not only in sports, but you got to be coachable in life. If somebody says you have to do X, Y, Z to have a successful podcast, then you got to do it. So that's how I was in basketball. I was, my coach was like, here's what we need you to do. And then in my life, I was just fortunate that I was able to find something that I love to do. And that's the other thing. I'll tell everyone this too, though. You will get an opportunity. If you write down your goals and you understand what you want to do in life, you will get the opportunity. Problem is, a lot of people either aren't patient enough to continue to work and stay at that level for when their opportunity comes, they take advantage of it, which means they give up. They don't have patience, or they're not ready for when the opportunity comes. So I was, again, fortunate because I listened. And I think it's important to also be honest with your strengths and weaknesses. I wasn't a guy, my personality there are people who do really well with office work and not me. I mean, you have to really understand your strengths and weaknesses. So I was just fortunate to come along at a time in the world where you got sports talk radio is crazy. The SEC network is broadcasting all these games. And so it's just my job is not screw it up. So I can't say anything stupid. See what I'm saying? Well, I always say, I do always say it, but you got to figure out how to backpedal out of that.
I'm excited for this. And I want to ask you two questions before we kind of get into your life story, because I really want to know your opinion. I was really excited when I found out that you were going to be on the show with me. And I really thought about what I wanted to ask you. My first two thoughts were, I'm going to ask you my first question first. What's your thought on the Hogs right now? I know there was a lot of hype going into the start of the season, of course, after the Elite Eight run last year. We thought we would see a lot of development from the returning players and a lot of excitement from transfer players. What's your opinion on the Hogs right now, and what do you see for the rest of the season for them?
Well, you see is a fine. It's a small margin of error. Small margin of error. Right now, just simple stuff. They're giving up too many points defensively. They gave up 86 points. Matter of fact, 5 out of the last, I think their last 5 losses they've given up in the 80s and high 80s, 86, 89. So that's the first thing is, and defense isn't a lot of just get down and dirty. That's defense. However, there's a lot of things you can do to take away possessions from the other team. They've turned it over a few times more than they have liked, than you would think, because we have some talented guys that have played a lot of college basketball minutes, and we have 18 turnovers last game. You can live with that if, on the other end, you're turning the other team over, or you're limiting their possessions somehow. So I think right now they're looking for their identity, who fits in what role. This is a unique strategy. Coach Musselman is one of the best at getting different transfers and bringing them together to chemistry. He's good at figuring out how to plug guys in. Again, it goes back to the coach understanding your strengths and weaknesses, but also the player understanding their strengths and weaknesses. So I think he's still searching for the right combination of guys that complement each other. Last season, they didn't start clicking until mid-January. So it was a few weeks into the conference season that this team guys started to figure out, okay, here's my role. And then they went on a roll. And as a matter of fact, I think, they rattle off maybe like 9 out of 10 wins. Yeah. So they've got talent. They've got enough talent. We've seen that. It's figuring out how to complement each other and work with each other. And, but it's not easy. And like I said, it's a small margin of error, man. The teams that they play, they pay their coaches a couple $1 million too. The team they play, they give their kids scholarships too. You're talking about good. You're talking. You can't afford to make those kind of mistakes. We're not that talented where we can make those mistakes and still win games. Very few teams are. So, but for me, it just starts the defensive end. Offense will come. It always does. Mm-hmm. But you got to get back to that grit and grind.
My second question is the same question, but it's for a different coach. I don't know how much you, kind of keep up with St. John's, but it's a big Mike Anderson fan. And I just love, he's kind of transformed that program just kind of like he did when he came in Arkansas, his first time as a head coach. What do you see out of him as a coach? And what were some of the things you learned out of him? And also, what do you think about his kind of coaching style that he kind of got from Coach Richardson in today's game of basketball?
Well, Coach Anderson is what people maybe not understand. He walks into any room and he immediately becomes the toughest guy in the room. Like, you have to be tough. He is tough. I've always been so impressed with him because I know him personally. He recruited me back when I was 18 years old. I've known him almost 30 years. And so I feel like I know him as well as anybody. And he is somebody that comes in every day, no nonsense. He understands and believes in his coaching style. And it's a no nonsense coaching style. The buck stops with him. His word's the final word. We're going to go out. We're going to outwork people. If we can't figure something out, we're going to go outwork it. And I love the coaching style. I understand that any sport in any game is going to evolve because coaches are always looking to find ways to give themselves an advantage. So everybody can't coach like Nolan Richardson or Mike Anderson because there's a certain personality trait you have to have. And there are some guys who just their personality is a little bit different of how they go about doing it. And that's fine. There's more than one ways to win a game. Yeah. And I happen to like that style because I was somebody who wasn't going to physically overcome anybody. I needed to, press, run, find open spots. All those types of things help me, as opposed to a slow down type deal. And, I like that kind of basketball. And again, there's more than one ways to do everything. So, but with Coach A, he's just so consistent, man, even in life. Like, he's a consistent guy in life. And we had, what was it, man? I guess it was my freshman year. We would do a 2-a-days. We'd have a 6 a.m. practice and 3 p.m. practice. Now, when you get to campus, there's so much going on. Class, you got to meet with academic advisors. You're thinking about basketball, school. You're thinking about, I'm living in a new place. There's so many things going on. Well, our first practice, 6 a.m., he knew. I don't know how he knew, but he knew I was going to be late. And I woke up, it must have been 5 minutes to 6 a.m. I hopped out of my bed, started running to the arena. There comes Coach Anderson with his car, picking me up. I knew you're going to be late, son. Don't ever let it happen again. But that's, coaching isn't about X's and O's. Coaching is it's a people business. Mm-hmm. Knowing going back to Coach Musselman, he's got to figure out, how do I get these personalities and skill sets to work together? Coach Richardson probably was the greatest psychologist of all time. He doesn't want to admit that, but he was a button pusher. All great coaches are button pushers. You got to know how to motivate somebody. And those guys figured it out, man. And they were tough. Wouldn't let you get away with anything. And that's how Coach Anderson still is. That's why he can go to any university in the country, and he's going to have winning seasons because he is going to demand a certain level of effort. He is going to will you to win some games because he's a strong personality. So that's, you talked about when he took over at Arkansas, boom, kind of turned it into, okay, we're never going back to where we were, right? We're looking forward. Now, unfortunately, few plays here and there, he breaks through the Sweet 16, and maybe we're having a different conversation. And but the thing is, Coach Musselman comes in, picks up right where he left off, right where Coach A left off, and then took us back to an Elite Eight. And I thought Coach Musselman, what he brought was what was needed at that time. Coach Anderson, you see what he's doing at St. John's. He comes in another program that's down, but he's got that toughness where he's like, this is what I demand. And the thing is, he knows how to get that stuff out of you.
Yeah.
So he's a disciplined guy. He's a tough as nails guy. He's a loyal guy. So he's got all those great characteristics to be successful in life always. I guess that's really a way of saying is he's got those personality traits that will make him always successful in life.
Appreciate that. Shout out to Coach A and Coach Mus. We wish y'all the best. And you said something in there that kind of caught my eye. You said, these things may work for other people, but they may not work for someone else. So you have to adapt and kind of do your own thing. And I absolutely agree. And one of the quotes that I tell people all the time is from Michael Jordan. He told people, if you don't like how I play the game, don't play it like that. Don't watch it.
Right.
I'm not telling you how to play the game. And so I really do agree with you. So
and that's
I appreciate that.
And you have to, but you can't be stubborn. And this is anything in life. Like you have to, Coach Richardson would always say to us, man, you guys play so hard, but you got to figure out how to play smart. And that, I mean, like there's a way to do both, hard and smart. And the way 40 Minutes of Hell was created, Coach Richardson's style of basketball was created because he had to win games with players that were not your high-ranked, highly touted players. So he had to figure out a way to, and then when you see, in the game of basketball, you see upsets because teams are able to, the three-point line right now is the great equalizer. Like you could have a team with a bunch of talent, dudes that just athletic and this, that, highly ranked. And then you have another team come in and they can knock down shots, spread you out, knock down shots. Boom. So it's like play to your strengths in life and in sports.
Absolutely. On to you. Talk about growing up in Everett, Massachusetts, and in that environment. I know you're known for playing basketball. Where did your love from sports grow? Or was it something that you kind of picked up at an early age, or was it a late bloomer type of thing for you?
It's always been. I grew up, Boston is one of those cities where the Celtics, Red Sox, now the Patriots, but when I was growing up, the Patriots stunk. Mm-hmm. They were brutal. Now it's a little bit different. Now everybody can't imagine the Patriots not being in Super Bowls. But that's really what it was. And I got an older brother who 2 years older, which is a good sort of separation because I was always trying to reach his level, and he was always just a little bit, more mature. And so it was just the competition. And I think, so we were always around playing sports. My father would have us playing sports, and everybody, and where I'm from in Everett is a big sports town. Everybody's gonna, compete, and they take it real serious. I played for a high school coach, John DiBiaso, who's the same thing. He 24/7, 365. This guy is coaching, leaving the gym open for you so you go and shoot. So, and then I think, for me, again, I was given opportunity, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed going and just shooting by myself. We all grew up playing football, baseball. I even played hockey growing up. But all that equipment gets too expensive, man. My parents were like, we can't keep buying hockey equipment. You guys keep growing like this. So you're gonna have to figure out what's gonna happen here. So, but yeah, it was just it was a fun outlet for me. And I'll be honest with you, like, one of the motivators for me, the better I got, the more I could see the attention, the positive attention you get. And that is in a way, it's a motivator, I think, because, just naturally you want to make an impact on people. And some kids will act out. Some kids want to get attention, they act out one way or the other, whether it's good or bad. And I think sports gives a lot of kids a positive way to feel good about themselves, but also to make an impact on other people, to look at them and say, and give them some recognition in a positive way. So that I think that was a great thing for me too. I could recognize that early on. And if you're good, you get free stuff, man. Everybody wants to get you free meals. No, just kidding. But, so it was a very, I guess, for my self-esteem, my self-confidence, it felt good being good at something. And again, it goes back to the work you put in, though. Yeah, you're not gonna be good. You're not gonna be good at something if you don't put your work into it. But it feels good once you finally are good at something.
Pat, growing up or even now, was there a player that you kind of watched a lot of tape on to kind of improve your game?
Man, it was a funny time. Like I said, Boston, the Celtics, late 80s.
Yep.
Larry Bird. I mean, everybody was a Bird fan. And then I kind of grew up high school in the early 90s when you talk about ESPN again. Now, a lot of these college basketball games, all of them are getting on television. So I transitioned now, falling in love with, and I can even remember in the early 90s, the Razorback teams with Todd Daly, Mayberry, Oliver Miller. And so, I mean, it's funny, like, Larry Bird was a huge influence on a lot of players from Boston. You can just imagine it'd be like growing up in Chicago, when Jordan was there. So, but it became that's really what it was, and one thing led to another. I had good influences that sort of fed me the proper knowledge and opportunity. And then I just bought, and it's like my brother played and I looked up to him. So I wanted to do what he wanted to do. Then, another older friend of ours played. I wanted to be how they were. So, it's funny how growing up, you don't realize the impact you can have on players or people or kids just a year or two or three younger than you. I mean, that's who I wanted to be. I wanted to be those guys. Played high school basketball. I want to, go to high school games. I want to be those guys, which was a big part of it too.
Outside of sports, what kind of kept your attention, and what were some of the things that you kind of engaged on outside of sports?
Man, there wasn't much. I tell you, my mother at one point had us in church 3 times a week. I can tell you, me and my brother were like, again? come on, Mom, again? So yeah, that's kept us pretty level-headed. And I think that helped me because we were all sports. I mean, we enjoyed, I was one of the great Nintendo players of all time because really all we did was play video games and play sports. And that's why I tell people, I say, what you do with your time is what you will be good at. So we did, what Mike Tyson's Punch Out, Tecmo Bowl. You don't know anything. I mean, these games, we did that. Then we'd go shoot. Then we'd come back in the house and play and go shoot. So, but our mother kept us pretty level-headed, keeping us in church, and that helped when I went to Arkansas because you feel like you're alone. You don't know anybody, new place, and it's easy to lock on to a group or any group really. And I was fortunate to get introduced to some godly people who helped keep me on at least understanding right, wrong, and what you got to do to take care of business. So but that was it, man. I enjoyed, believe it or not, reading. Like we would have a bunch of books, all kinds of books. But that's what you had to do years ago. I mean, that was the only thing. I mean, you go outside and play, stay in and read a book, or maybe if your father wasn't watching TV on the one TV you had, you could play Nintendo. You know what I'm saying? Now I could see why so many kids got into trouble. It wasn't much to do to get into trouble. But it was a lot of fun, man. I had a good childhood.
As we talk about this, because I talk about this so much, the importance of family for me. Talk about how much of an influence your parents and your family in general have had on your life. And what are some things that maybe you learned from family members that you even still use today in your lifestyle?
Well, they were a safety net for me because they always encouraged me to do more. If I wanted to go on a trip, an AU basketball trip, 9th grade, 10th grade, they found a way to make that happen for me to go and play against the best competition. But I always knew that there was a safety net there. I think that's so important for kids to know. Go. Don't be afraid to try things. But no, we're going to be here to your in a good way safety net. I'm not talking about you screw up, we're going to pick up the pieces for you. No, I'm talking about go to, try different things. Go to that camp and, we're going to help you get there. So I always felt like that I had their support, like real support. And sometimes that's advice. Sometimes it's just being there. That's one thing I did learn now is sometimes people have to know you're just there. That's it. You don't need to try to tell them how to do this, that, or the other, that you're there. I'm going to be there with you. I'm there. I'm watching. I'm supporting you. And if you need it, I'm going to be there to kick you in the rear end and get you. I'm not going to let you get off this path. So that was important because I always felt like there's always going to be somebody that's gonna like smack me back on the right path. My brother was, he played college basketball, not at the level I did. So he was always keeping me from getting that cocky attitude, big-headed attitude. And that's something that, I think I try to do today, but I think the support part of it is huge, because we have coaches to teach kids. If you're a parent or an uncle or an older brother or whatever, somebody in a kid's life, Like, you got to know your role is to support and to know, and you know what? Yeah. How about you got to drive them all over the place, or her all over the place to games, or help them get there, or coordinate. And that's, I think, the best thing you can do. Of course, that's sport, but that could be anything. I mean, that could be band practice, that could be science camp, that could be whatever it is. It's tough though to I think sometimes, let go a little bit, and I know some parents. Unfortunately for my parents, they didn't, they didn't mind me going, like I said, to different tournaments or camps outside the state. If I was never exposed to that kind of talent, different personalities, like I was able to come across different types of personalities in my life early through basketball, different parts of the country, different cultures, which helped me when I got to college. Because now it was more natural and I could focus on basketball, class, and not so much individual differences. But support, man, support's huge. Just being there, just, and asking questions, but not too many questions. Nobody wants to answer a million questions.
I can agree with that.
It's funny. It's like, my parents will ask now, like, it's like, all right, you're asking the same questions you already asked. What, it just, I know you care. That's all. That's enough. Do you, I mean, it's just, it never, but it's to know, for a young person to know that people care, invested, support.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Absolutely. Talk about your recruitment journey. I know you kind of talked about earlier. I kind of blew up a little bit at a tournament, and that's where you got offers a lot more. But also go into that. When did you realize that maybe I could be really good at this basketball thing, and why was it that you chose Arkansas to be the place that you called home for the next 4 years?
Well, with Arkansas, I was getting recruited by mid-major schools, we'll call them. And then Northeastern area was Boston University, St. Bonaventure, Duquesne, a little bit University of Hartford. So I go to a tournament and we played great. The interesting thing about that was my team kept winning games. And Coach Richardson, the way the tournament was set up is, as you move along in the tournament, if you keep winning, you stay on the main court. The losers go to the side court. And all the big time coaches, they just sit on the main court because the better players are going to win games. We want to watch the better players. And our team, we kept winning. And so Coach was able to see me play a lot. And he liked some of my instincts. But I think that's a lesson too for anyone listening is, when you, believe it or not, when you get to these AU tournaments, coaches look to see the influence you have on winning the game. Not just your individual talent, but how do you influence your team? So that's important. And that's what happened to me. And the minute he called me, well, Coach Anderson called, I went to the hotel room. Coach Anderson called and said, "This is Coach Anderson, University of Arkansas. Hang on, I got Coach Richardson here." So I talked to Coach Richardson. He said, "Man, we like how you've been playing." He said, "We're going to be at the game tonight watching you." So now I'm thinking, oh man, now I got pressure. Well, fortunately, again, as a team, we played good. I played good. And Coach called me back. He said, "Listen, we're going to offer you a scholarship." And at the time, they had just lost everybody from national championship team. So there was like 8 or 9 scholarships available, thankfully, because I probably wouldn't have got one if there wasn't that many available. And so immediately I knew that's where I want. I mean, they had just won the national championship, like 2 months before that. This was July. They won it in April. There was no question where I was going to go. But then everybody started with well, you really think you can play there? You really think you know, I mean, is so that was another motivational deal for me. Matter of fact, the first week I was in Fayetteville, me, my parents, my sister, everybody, we drove to Fayetteville from Everett, 1,500 miles in a minivan. And I got there and I looked around, and I mean, you can imagine it's like farmland. I don't know if you've been to Fayetteville, but it's just like, I mean, it's like, you know, farm out there. I just said, I got to leave. I can't stay here. You guys can't leave me here. And then my father was like, you know what? That's exactly what they said back home, that you wouldn't make it a week. So I was like, dang. All right. You know, that's understanding how to motivate somebody. You know, that's the kick in the rear end that you need sometimes versus the pat on the back, the comfort. But really, man, it was a match made in heaven, man. Me and Coach Richardson, I got to be honest with you, because I always thought of myself as a underdog type of player and outwork people. And I mean, Coach Richardson, that's his whole life. He's been breaking down barriers. He's been doing things that nobody else has ever done. From a coaching standpoint, he's won the junior college national championship, the NIT national championship, and the NCAA national championship. So, yeah, he's somebody that you want, like you just want to be around, learn from him, see what makes him successful. But it was fun too, man, because Coach, he and I clicked early on, and we'd go to his house and he would cook, and I would eat, and he would keep cooking, and I'd keep eating, and that's when I knew we're a match made in heaven.
I'd say this because I have not gotten there yet, but I know the terminology for it, especially for you, because you kind of went so far away from home, from Massachusetts to Arkansas. How adaptive were you when you first got to college? Because that's like your first point in life where you're on your own. Like everything you've learned, you got to apply it now. And if you don't, it's on you. How adaptive were you, and how balanced were you with your schedule?
Well, because I went there to play basketball, there's already a built-in family group, and there's already a schedule set for me. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, one of the first things you learn, it's there. You have a lot more freedom. Like in high school, it seems like there's everybody knows everything, where you're at, what you're doing. You know, in college, you do have a little bit more freedom. And I'm not going to lie to you. I may have slept through a few classes. I may have not shown up to a few classes on time. But it was, so that part of it, I had definitely had to get used to. Because there's not somebody, like the coaches, academic advisors, yes, they're always on your butt. However, you're not living with them like you are in high school. So it was fun, but it was also, you realize that you did have a little bit more responsibility. And I guess early on, I decided early on that I was committed to being the best basketball player I could be. I'm not saying that school wasn't. It's just that I didn't never know really. I didn't have a path, didn't know when it came to school what direction I wanted to go. It wasn't like, I'm in love with biology or chemistry or I don't know, engineering or being a doctor. My passion really was people. And so I had to figure out how to make that work in school. And so again, that's why you have to really spend time, I think, thinking about what it is you're good at and what you're going to want to do for a while, because, that's important too. But yeah, so I adapt, again, going back to my experiences when I was a young teenager. I understood how to adapt. I understood how to work within a team. When you got one kid from New York City, you got another kid from California, and one kid from Jonesboro, Arkansas. How do they come together? So that's why it was beneficial for me to do the things that I had already done. And it was fun. Like I said, I'm a curious person. I enjoyed going with my buddy to Bentonville and eating things experience, like seeing things that I never saw before. Mm-hmm. Like I enjoyed that kind of stuff. So it was beautiful. It was a great thing for me. It was very difficult though. Very difficult, because there were a lot of times where, you don't want to do the right thing. And by doing the right thing, I mean, get up, go to practice. You got to go to practice. Get up on time for class. Get up on time for practice. Eat correctly. Drink correctly. Sleep correctly. Like, those things aren't easy. You have to make yourself do those things to get the result that you want in the classroom, on the court. Though all those little things are important. And those were the things that weren't easy. It was fun for me to go and play hoops. But to learn how to eat right, sleep right, all those things to help me be more successful was kind of something I had to adapt to.
I got two questions in one for you. So what were some of the biggest differences you saw from the game in high school and once you got to the SEC? And what were some of the differences you saw that kind of made an impact on you and Coach Richardson's mindset and style that were completely different from your high school coach?
Well, one thing that I was fortunate was my high school coach and one of my AU coaches, we would press, full court press. So I understood rotations and things like that. So I was easily able to slide in on that. So that was sort of an advantage for me. But the high school game, like basketball is basketball, sure. However, the margin of error, like I said, is like this. I mean, faster, stronger, longer, tougher, smarter, everything. It was a shock, man. And the thing is too, is you go from playing against 16-year-olds, maybe kid's a sophomore, you're playing against a 15, 16-year-old teenager, to in 3 months, you could be playing against a 23-year-old man with 2 kids, married twice. Who knows? Okay. So this guy looks at you and he's just licking his chops because he wants to embarrass you. He wants to beat you down mentally. This is, whether it's opposing players or, the truth is early on, teammates are very competitive with each other.
Yeah.
And so, you have to find a way. I mean, there were times when I first got there, my freshman year, he's one of my great friends, Kareem Reed was my point guard, great friend. We fought every single day when I first got there. And it was just because he demanded so much. So I'd be playing and maybe I'd miss a shot. And if he passes you the ball, you can't miss. You can't. I mean, you're taking an assist away from him. He can't take it. So you have to, you grow. And Coach Richardson he's not recruiting anymore, but he would tell the parents of recruits, I'm going to take your son as a boy and turn him into a man. And I appreciate Coach because he didn't sugarcoat anything. He was like, you gonna help us win? If you're not, see you. End of the bench. And so, I mean, those harsh realities, you go from being high school, everybody's the man in high school. Everybody, every single kid that's on a Division I basketball team. Well, there's 352 Division I basketball teams, so maybe not everyone, but everyone was a starter.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you just learning your new role and learning everything. You got to do it pretty quick. And, you know, that's why some kids don't know how to handle it. You know, they don't. But I was fortunate because my high school coach had a lot of similarities to my college coach, and that helped with the transition.
Within your time, Bud Walton was just in its midst of his new years of being home of the basketball team. What was it like playing there? And at that time, you know, a part of, you know, a team that a program that just won a national championship. Was there a lot of pressure that you feel like just being a player?
You know, we followed back-to-back Final Four teams.
Mm-hmm.
Scotty Thurman, Corliss Williamson, Corey Beck, Clint McDaniel, all those guys. 94, they win the championship. They go back in 95. So you can never – that is a time in Razorback basketball history. It's the only national championship. So it's a time that can never be duplicated. Hopefully we win another national championship at some point. However, that time I think was unique to itself. Eddie Sutton, Nolan Richardson, 2 Hall of Famers, back-to-back coaches. So we felt, you know, it was weird because you don't really know. You don't know what you don't know. And walking in as a freshman, I knew the success, but you feel like we're going to continue to have success. I had success in high school. We're going to have success here. And then we end up going to the Sweet 16 my freshman year. Mm-hmm. And so now we're like, this is easy. We're going to be back. And then, you know, the next year we missed the tournament. Then the following 2 years, we get knocked out in the second round. So you feel pressure because Coach Richardson reminds you, do you know what Corey Beck did? Do you know what Scotty Thurman did? How can you know? So you have to live up to that. Now, we were the beneficiary of a lot of what those guys did, right? I mean, they created being a Razorback has always been amazing. I mean, however, you can just imagine. We had. So you ever hear of Midnight Madness?
Absolutely.
We had 20,000 people at Midnight Madness. Okay, and that must have been the fall of 95. 95, 96 season, which was my freshman year. They just went to the national championship game in 95. So it just gives you an idea of the hysteria that was around there, man. And it was a special time. Fortunate for those guys before me to have had so much success that I benefited from it. Even though we didn't win as many games as they did, we still benefited from their success. And they let me know about it every time I see them. They say, you better thank us. That's my beet juice right here. This is good for you. Nice natural cleanser.
Hey, I might need to try something. Might need to try something new. When you graduate college, what's your mindset? Like, what do you think you're about to get into? Or are you just kind of clueless? What do you think is the next step for you?
I thought I was going to play in the NBA for 15 years. I mean, that's what I wanted to do. And that was a tough moment because you're trying to figure out a way to get to that dream, and you don't know how to do it. You say, I'm just going to work hard like I always have, and hopefully a door will open. And what ended up happening was, the few agents that I talked to, and I ended up playing a year of minor league basketball, which then a lot of my opportunities to play in the NBA, doors all closed. So then I went overseas, ended up getting hurt though over there, which in hindsight, everything's clear when you look back. You know what I'm saying? But at the time, you're just doing the best you can do with the knowledge that you have. And you're looking back on it, knowing that, okay, that dream of the NBA, that's not there, at least right now.
Yeah.
What's the next best thing? And that's why I'm so glad now that there are so many more resources for players coming out of college than there were 25 years ago. There's just more information. And a lot of it is communication is so much easier now than it was 25 years ago. Years ago was, somebody would mail you a letter. You might get it, might not get it. And then, so looking back on it, I probably could have carved out a longer career playing overseas. And that is for early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s person to be playing basketball in Europe or the Middle East, making money that they had never made before. Oh, that's a dream come true, man. I played in Denmark and France. It's still some of the best moments I've had in my life. I mean, I suggest any player, anybody that gets opportunity to experience that. It's something special.
I want to ask you this before we kind of get off that topic, but you have been blessed to be inducted into the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame, and you sit up there with names as with Coach Richardson, the late Eddie Sutton, John McDonald, the late Frank Broyles. How much does that mean to you to be a part of a history like that?
It's something that I don't see myself like that. Mm-hmm. I don't see myself as somebody who accomplished as much as any of these other people. It's a strange sort of thing. It's like, well, you look back, and I'm very appreciative of it because of what it means. And it's just strange to kind of think of yourself like that. You don't ever really think of that. You don't play thinking someday I'm gonna get into the Hall of Honor or the Hall of Fame. You play to be the best you can be and to be have the best team you can be. But it feels great coming back after it's all said and done, and reliving those memories and feeling like, yeah, wow, they do still remember. They do still care of, all the work you put in. And that was one of the things, Arkansas fans, there is a genuine care. They care about the Hogs and they make you, and you know it. And I think that's part of also helping from a player standpoint, knowing that the fans care and it's important to them, then it gives you that little bit of boost or even a big boost of that. It's not just you. There's a lot of people who this is going to impact. So I think, having that feeling of, wow, it's appreciated is really what's sort of overwhelming. And then the ceremony and everything, it's like, wow, you do all this stuff. That's this is great. I got to try to get into another Hall of Fame. I got to do something. And then it makes you feel like, man, I haven't done anything in 20 years. I got to start doing something.
And then this, and then I have one more to kind of regroup on that. for anyone that doesn't know, Pat's nickname is the shooter. And at that time, for the game of basketball, 3-point shooting, it wasn't, I wouldn't say not a common thing, but it's not the presence that it is in today's game of basketball. In your opinion, first of all, what is it like to see the 3-point shot become what it is today? And were there times in your career that you kind of received criticisms for your game?
The criticisms for my game were more of trying to do things that I couldn't do. Mm-hmm. So shooting the ball was something that, coaches, everybody was like, just shoot it. Matter of fact, and you develop as a player. So, there was a time where, I don't know, whatever it was, my coach said, don't pass, don't dribble. You catch it, just shoot it. And then, you never want to feel that you can only do one thing, though. I think basketball players should be able to shoot, pass, and dribble, play defense, everything. So, again, though, when I came in, I knew my strength. I played to my strengths. My teammates knew my strengths and weaknesses. So everybody was cool with me doing what I did. The game. So I think we as a team always shot a high percentage of 3-point shots. I was looking at some of the numbers. I'll give you an example. I think maybe I'll say 1999, my senior year, 38% of our shots were from the 3-point line. So at that time, in 99, there was maybe a total of 30 teams who shot that high percentage. The difference now, fast forward to this year, there's, 60% of college basketball teams are shooting, 40% of their shots are from the 3-point line. So we always shot a lot. I think more teams are getting to, and the thing is, because more players are coming out of high school with the ability to shoot the ball. So more coaches are willing to say, okay, you get the green light, you get the green light, you get the green light. Mm-hmm. Whereas, and now it's just a testament to basketball always evolving. Now, let me ask you this, right? So you have, let's say you're an AAU coach or you're a high school coach, much like Coach Richardson was back in El Paso in, I think it might have been the 60s. He's got all short dudes. He's playing against tall dudes. He says, how are we going to win? So he goes, you know what? We're going to press all day, all night. We're going to press. We're going to press their face off. Steal, steal, steal. We're small to the ground. They're tall. We're going to steal it, steal it. So now that changes almost basketball in a way, because now you got teams that are full court press running. How do you neutralize their height? Oh, we're going to press you. We're going to make you put it on the floor, steal it. So then you got a coach who's like, man, I'm sick and tired of getting beat by all these tall dudes. What are we going to do to win? All you guys, come on. We're going to become elite 3-point shooters. We're going to spread them out. Boom, boom, boom. Now you neutralize your lack of athleticism, your lack of height, your lack of strength. So the more basketball became as popular as it is, you're going to see, and you see it in football, where we get a spread gel at the spread offense evolved because you can't beat Alabama with 3 yards in a cloud of dust, right? So it's, with that being said, you and I both know not all shooters are created equal. Just because you're a shooter doesn't mean you're a maker. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where the frustration comes in, is play to your strengths. There's still, like, that's what hurts me. Like, to me, the game of basketball is always about, the name of the game is putting the ball in the hole. Yeah. That's it. So how do we prevent you from putting the ball in the hole? And how do we get us to put the ball in the hole? And if you shoot 50 layups is 100 points, right? That's fine. But you can't allow them to make 33. So actually, you'd still win by 10, but you get my point.
Yeah.
You can't have 43. So I get it. I just think the 3-point line, people got to change things. I just wish people would be more responsible with their 3-point shot. Be responsible, kids. Don't just chuck it up there. You have a responsibility to all the shooters out there.
And I serious on this too. What advice would you give to two kids in the game of high school right now, trying to reach that next level? What advice would you give to them about their game, about their bodies, about the game outside of sports? What advice would you give to them?
I would, provided that they love the process. Like, you gotta love the process. Like, I loved shooting drills, dribbling drills. First of all, I would say don't ever get caught in a situation that you're not comfortable in on the basketball court or in life, which means you have to be able to handle the ball, which means you got to have some sort. You don't have to be Kyrie Irving or Steph Curry handling the ball, but you got to have that as a small part of your skill set. You can't be caught not understanding how to make a shot, whether it's a free throw. It starts with the fundamentals, like anything. It starts with the fundamentals. You got to be able to not be caught in a situation on the court where you can't get out of. And then, it really is, you got to find that passion. Like I said, I enjoyed going to the gym and shooting. I mean, it was all day, every day thing. And it's just that the work that puts in. And be coachable. Be coachable. Not every coach is smart. I get that. Coaches make mistakes all the time. However, you gotta be coachable and listen and learn. Even if it's a coach you want to blame everything on, you can still learn something from that coach and improve your game.
Could you talked about earlier, you had the opportunity to be a coach in the D League at the time. First off, how did you get involved with that? And what was the process for you in terms of being a coach, and what did you expect out of your players?
Well, I played, I came back to Little Rock to play for the team. At the time we were in the ABA. Played, I got hurt again. They said, well, you want to coach, you want to work for the team and coach? I said, okay, sure. And in those minor league teams, you do everything. Yeah. I mean, you're doing the laundry, you're picking people up, no one has a car, you got to do this, that. So after a couple of years of that, I was like, man, this is a grind. That's why those coaches, I know people get mad at how much money these coaches make, but man, it's a lot of work. Not say that I didn't want to do that work. However, it was making decisions. Coaches make difficult decisions. They have to decide on a player's future a lot of times. So you're looking at a team of 10 guys. You have to decide, I'm giving him minutes over him. And that could be the difference between somebody continuing their career or not. And it's so there's a lot that went into it. I tip my hat to all those coaches, man. You have a huge responsibility to players' futures that depend on you. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. I probably would have still been coaching, but our team folded and we were going to move. Because I loved coaching, being around the game. Because you can have an impact on people's lives. That you can influence them in a positive way, help them get to realize their dreams. That's the awesome thing about coaching. Our final year, the team folded. We were going to move to another state, another location. That fell through. And then at that time, I was offered the job on the radio. And I said, well, let me give this a shot. I said, coaching, I can get, I was like, I'll do the radio for a few months. And then I'll go back to coaching. And I just fell in love with the radio and was able to still train kids. Mm-hmm. So I kind of was able to still coach in that way. Without all the other drama. Why aren't I playing? Why are we running this? Why are we running that? I'm like, oh, it's like, just be coachable. Just be coachable.
How did you get involved in radio? And how did you see yourself fitting in a role that you really have never been able to experience before in your life up until that point?
Well, it was a benefit because when I played in college, we had a lot of TV and radio interviews we had to do. So I became very comfortable doing that even when I was in college. So that's the important thing is I think a lot of players should embrace that. They should embrace the media because it's a way to get your voice out. First of all, you're speaking for yourself. Nobody can put words in your mouth. You're saying what you want to say, and it's helpful later on in your life. So that's kind of and then I would go on the radio a lot to talk about when I was in Little Rock to talk about what was the Razorbacks and things like just as a guest and develop good friendships and relationships and then I got the call from my buddy Justin, and he said, "Well, see if we can't do this." So I was like, "Sure." I didn't know it lasts this long, but I'm glad I did it because it's something that fits me, fits my personality.
You've also had the blessed opportunity, which is kind of where I've gotten to know you a little bit more, to be a part of SEC Network for the past couple of years. And I think your passion and love for that is evident in what you do. Also talk about how you got involved with that and how much has it been meant to you to see the SEC Network grow and grow and grow every single year that you've been a part of it?
Man, it's amazing. The growth of the SEC Network, the SEC Commissioner, Greg Sankey, was like, here's our plan. We have a great fan base. We got a great product. Football is at the height. And he said, basketball, we're going to get there. Baseball is and so I think it starts at the top, like a lot of things. ESPN and SEC conference were committed to making the SEC Network important and access and all that. And I was fortunate because I kept bugging the former Arkansas athletic director, Jeff Long. Every time I would email him, I'd go, Jeff, talk to somebody for me. Every year, for a couple of years, I would bother him. And then finally, he says, hey, Pat, I'm going to a meeting tomorrow. You want me to bring your name up? I said, heck, yes, bring my name up. And then, so he did. And they brought me in for the audition. And it's been great, man. Learning a lot, seeing the growth of it obviously is, the SEC Network, if you look at all the networks, it is, the viewership is through the roof. I mean, that. I mean, obviously the Southeast sports, college sports is so important. It's different than New York, LA, Boston, Chicago. College sports is so important to the Southeast that it's been a match made in heaven. So it's fun, getting dressed up every once in a while, man. kicking off the old athletic shoes and throwing on a suit.
As whether it's a player or as your role now, what's been some of the best venues you've been to, whether it's just arena design or fan interaction? What's been some of the best venues you've been able to?
In high school, we played at the Boston Garden. That's where they do
Wow.
the state semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Bud Walton goes. I mean, that's the top
Mm-hmm.
of the list in the whole country. That's obvious. Some of the, believe it or not, Auburn has a great arena. Even before they did it over a few years back, but even before that, I mean, they had some funny fans, man. Fans running onto the court during layup lines. Crazy. Florida is a venue where people are on top of you. I mean, you're in a timeout, and it's the front row is right there. So basketball arenas have an intimacy. Rupp Arena in Kentucky isn't very intimate because it holds 20-something thousand people, but they're sort of set back a little bit. But there are some arenas that are very intimate. I mean, you're taking the ball out of bounds, and and there's fans right there. That's the unique thing about basketball is you're so close to the fans and everything else. I don't know, it makes it special being in that building. Everybody feeds off each other's energy.
I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know you have some things to get to, but this is a question that I ask every single one of my guests, and it's always the most important because as much as we talk about, what we stand for and what we believe in and what we love to do in our lives, what we want to be remembered for is really important to me. And I say my legacy. When you're gone, what is the thing that you want to be remembered for? And also, what are some things that maybe you didn't get to tell others or express to others that you want them to know about yourself?
That's good. We should probably ask ourselves that question every day, right? When we wake up every morning, what do we want to be remembered for? This way we kind of keep because it's easy to get distracted from that. I do want to be remembered to be the best shooter in history. No, I'm just kidding. No, I've always liked to put a smile on people's face. I've always enjoyed when I spent time with people, having them feel better about themselves, their situation, the world in general. So, that to me, I guess, to have that feeling of when people think about me, it is a refreshing feeling, a fun feeling, a focusing on I can get through anything type feeling. Because we are all going to have moments in our life that are devastating. Devastating. I'm talking the worst things you can imagine. Stuff like that stuff only happens to other people. You're going to have moments like that in your life. And it's helpful to have somebody that can help bring you through that. So, that to me, I guess is important because, you do have a lot of people that are in rough places that you'll never know. And maybe they'll never tell you. However, it could be your interaction with them that takes their mind off that for a little bit, or maybe they can think about that, or maybe they think about you and they say, yeah, it just kind of lifts them up a little bit. So that's probably, I would think that is, I enjoy, and I hope people enjoy it too, because I like having a good time, man. I like watching people have a good time. There's no reason not to. I know it's not all about fun and games, but if you take care of your business, and like I said, I think people appreciate having that somebody that can do that for them.
There's a quote, and it's from Nick Saban, and I believe he got it from Lou Holtz, but I just played in my mind after I heard it a couple weeks ago. And he said, "If you want to be happy for an hour, eat a steak. If you want to be happy for a day, play golf. If you want to be happy for a month, go buy a new car. But if you want to be happy continuously, think about, if I left today, would people give a crap if I was gone?" And I say that because it's so important to me to be remembered for something positive. And I'm doing what I love. And I hope that other kids that are maybe younger than me, even older than me, are looking at this and understanding you can do whatever it is you want to do in life. My grandma tells me all the time, keep your nose clean, keep your head forward, and make sure the right people around you, and you're going to be all right. And so I appreciate what you just said, because my main reason to start the show was to help other people, the guests, to get their stories and their voices out there, but also for people going through things that maybe need some advice and maybe need a new direction of advice for someone new. So I appreciate that, man.
And the thing is, Daniel, what you're doing is impressive because you're curious. And if I would give you, stay curious. Well, the day you stop learning is the day you stop living. And there's always more, and that's what keeps life fun. And to go back what people and legacy of what you're remembered for, people remember for different things. Like, there are people in my life who I remember them because of how dependable they are. I mean, and that goes back to, I think, looking at this thing at big picture. Every person, there's a lot of people in your life who help you, but they give you something different. Your grandmother and your best friend, they're both important, but they're going to give you something different, and they're both valued. So you got to surround yourself, good people, surround yourself with, I would say, a little bit of a variety, right? Because you need the comforter person, you need the advice person, you need the tough person that's going to get you on track. Sometimes they're on one, but sometimes they're different people. I mean, my mother was somebody's different from my father. She was so I think that's important too, man. And you're doing a great thing, and it's good. And it's funny how you talked about radio. The funny thing was, over the years, doing a radio talk show had become therapeutic.
Yeah.
You're talking and people listening, and you're talking to people. So stick with it, man. And like I said, it's you never know when that thing is going to happen. But you got to stay ready, because it's going to happen. And right now what you're doing is fantastic, man. Great young man. Keep up what you're doing.
I appreciate that. It means a lot, and I can't exemplify those in the words. I want to show you my lock screen real quick. It says, "Be curious, not judgmental." And so you telling me that I'm being curious, you kind of touched me a little bit. So I appreciate that. I really can't put it into words, because again, I'm living my dream, and this is all fun for me, and I love what I'm doing. So I thank you, Mr. Bradley.
Yeah, man, Dalen, you're the man. Hey, just the beginning, man. Enjoy it.
I appreciate that.
Enjoy it.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Season 2 has been so fun, and I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot. Hope you guys enjoyed every single episode. Until next time, tune out, you guys. Love you guys. See you season 3. See you soon. Thank you, everyone.